Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from our channel Immortal News. Today we invite you to join us for a gentle and heartfelt remembrance. We'll be honoring the American stars we've recently lost, as well as beloved figures from around the world whose lives touched us in ways we may not even realize until they're gone. These are the stories of people who made us smile, inspired us, and left behind memories that continue to echo in our hearts. Before we begin, if you could take a moment to give this video a like, it would truly mean a lot. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful tributes and keeping their legacies alive. Thank you for being here with us. Now, let's begin. Number 6. Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa was a multifaceted contributor to global cinema, celebrated for his commanding screen presence, martial arts mastery, and deeply nuanced performances. Born in Tokyo, Japan, he spent his early childhood immersed in traditional culture before relocating to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, a move that profoundly shaped his identity and fueled his dedication to martial arts. Training first in kendo and later in traditional Japanese karate at the University of Southern California, these early influences became foundational to the powerful characters he brought to life on screen. Tagawa's career pivot came with his breakout role in The Last Emperor, 1987, opening the door to a remarkable 4-decade journey across film, television, and video games. His unforgettable portrayal of the sorcerer Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat franchise cemented him as a cultural icon, while roles in memoirs of a geisha, Rising Sun, Pearl Harbor, Planet of the Apes, 47 Ronin, and Tekken showcased his versatility across genres. Beyond acting, he lent his voice and likeness to numerous video games and created his own spiritual martial arts system, Chunshin, emphasizing energy and inner balance. In television, Tagawa made lasting impressions through roles in The Man in the High Castle, Nash Bridges, Hawaii, Revenge, and Blue Eye Samurai. His characters often reflected themes of cultural identity, discipline, and personal honor, qualities he embodied in his own life. Away from the spotlight, Tagawa was a devoted husband and father, living with his wife Sally and their 2 children on the island of Kauai. His blend of artistry, wisdom, and authenticity made him a treasured figure to colleagues and audiences alike. Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa passed away on December 4, 2025 in Santa Barbara, California at the age of 75. His legacy endures through his iconic roles, his cultural impact, and the profound dignity he brought to every performance. Tributes to Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa. Number 5. The best way to know a city, Frank Gehry once said, is to build in it. Few ever reshaped cities with as much imagination, daring, and humanity as he did. Frank Gehry, the visionary architect who transformed buildings into art and cities into canvases, has passed away at the age of 96. He died peacefully after a brief illness, leaving behind a world reimagined through glass, metal, and bold ambition. His career stretched over 6 remarkable decades. From humble beginnings to iconic landmarks, he gave us unforgettable structures like the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao and the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles. His designs didn't just house culture, they became cultural moments in themselves. Born Frank Owen Goldberg in Toronto, he moved to Los Angeles as a young man. He eventually founded his own firm, Gehry Partners, setting out to create buildings that challenged norms. Early works, such as his own home in Santa Monica, made headlines for using unexpected materials like corrugated metal and chain-link fencing, decisions that signaled a new way of thinking about design. Gehry's talent didn't go unnoticed. He received the Pritzker Architecture Prize and countless other international honors. But what made him extraordinary wasn't just his recognition, it was his relentless curiosity. He embraced new technologies, experimented fearlessly with form, and always aimed to make art out of architecture. Beyond his buildings, he mentored young designers, taught at universities, and contributed to community projects around the globe. Whether you were walking through one of his luminous museums or attending a concert inside one of his thoughtfully tuned performance spaces, you felt his deep belief in architecture's power to move people. Tributes from around the world have poured in, honoring his legacy. "Frank redefined what architecture could be," wrote one longtime collaborator. "He made buildings that danced, that sang, and that stayed with you." Frank Gehry is survived by his children and grandchildren, and by the countless lives he touched. His influence, like his structures, continues to rise in cities across the world, places that feel more inspired and full of possibility because of him. Tributes to Frank Gehry. Number 4. Sweet guy. Great player. Never wanted attention, but when the music started, he said everything. So remembered a fellow musician when hearing the news of Tetsu Yamauchi's passing. He was 79. Tetsu's bass was the quiet heart of many classic rock moments. Fans of Free remember the depth he brought to their final recordings. Listeners of Faces recall how he stepped into big shoes and never missed a beat. Behind the grooves, though, was a man who let the music, not himself, take center stage. From humble roots in Fukuoka, Japan, Tetsu carved a path few others had walked. At a time when Japanese musicians rarely broke into British rock, he broke through, not by force but by feel. His playing with Samurai first hinted at what was to come, a blend of styles, subtlety, and soul. Joining Free in its final chapter, Tetsu gave the band a grounding they needed. Then came the call to replace Ronnie Lane in Faces. It was a bold move, yet he met it with quiet strength. While others performed with flash, he kept time with grace. His solo material showed another side, funky, fearless, and full of heart. And his session work, both in Japan and the UK, revealed a musician who listened deeply and played with purpose. Younger players watched, studied, and learned what it meant to serve the song. In later years, Tetsu left the spotlight behind. He chose peace over applause, spending his time in the countryside surrounded by those he loved. A brief return to stage in Tokyo gave fans one last chance to witness his artistry. Still steady, still sincere. He passed peacefully in December 2025 after a brief illness, leaving the music world quieter, yet forever changed. Fans and peers alike have mourned his loss with deep admiration. Rod Stewart once referred to him as the right guy at the right time. For Tetsu, being right wasn't about ego. It was about rhythm, soul, and knowing when less meant more. Though he avoided the limelight, his legacy still shines. Across continents and decades, Tetsu Yamauchi inspired those lucky enough to hear his work, or stand beside him on stage. Tributes to Tetsu Yamauchi. Number 3. At the end of the day, music is about healing. It's about connecting with the soul, Pops Muhammad once said. He lived those words through every note he played. Pops Muhammad, one of South Africa's most beloved musical visionaries, has died at the age of 75, following a brief illness. His passing leaves a deep silence in the world he spent decades filling with sound and spirit. Raised in Benoni during apartheid, Pops wove together the cultural threads of his Indian, Portuguese, Xhosa and Khoisan roots to create something entirely his own. As a teenager in Ryger Park, he formed his first band, the Valiants, never imagining that his blend of African traditional instruments with jazz and funk would one day reach global audiences. He played the mbira, kora, kalimba, and uhadi with soul and mastery. He traveled to the Kalahari to record Khoisan music, determined that ancient voices would not be lost. His Kalamazoo albums and work with movement in the city redefined what African fusion could sound like. Works like Ancestral Healing and Timeless won national awards and opened ears around the world. More than a performer, Pops was a teacher. He led workshops across continents. He introduced countless young people to Africa's traditional instruments and to the pride of their own heritage. Collaborator Dave Reynolds once said, "Pops wasn't just playing instruments, he was telling stories. Each sound came from a place of love and ancient memory." His generosity crossed borders and generations. Whether on stage or sitting in a schoolroom, Pops brought people together, using music as a path to healing and unity. The tributes pouring in reflect how many lives he touched. Artists speak of a mentor, fans of a musical guide, South Africa of one of its greatest cultural stewards. Though Pops has departed, his echoes remain. In every recording, every student, every melody that blends the old and the new. He left behind no ordinary musical legacy, but one shaped by curiosity, respect, and boundless creativity. Tributes to Pops Muhammad. Number 2. Journalism's task is not to shout the loudest, but to speak the clearest. Robert Bruce Dold lived by those words, spoken quietly, written boldly, and reflected in every line he edited and every voice he uplifted. Robert Dold, one of the most steady and respected voices in American journalism, has passed away at 70 after a brief illness. A Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial writer and former editor-in-chief of the Chicago Tribune, he championed reform, transparency, and the underdog. In doing so, he left behind not just a newspaper shaped by his careful hand, but a city and a profession, better because of his presence. His journey began in the Chicago suburbs and led to one of journalism's most trusted newsrooms. After graduating from Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism, he joined the Tribune as a reporter and never looked back. Over more than 4 decades, Robert covered politics, became editorial page editor, and eventually served as publisher and editor-in-chief. It was his editorials that changed laws and saved lives. His 1994 Pulitzer Prize recognized his moral clarity in shining a light on the broken child welfare system in Illinois. Under his direction, the Tribune editorial board went on to win a dozen national honors, including a second Pulitzer. Colleagues praised his calm demeanor, unwavering ethics, and unwavering belief that newspapers must serve the people. They echoed his quiet leadership long after deadlines passed. NBC's Carol Marin once said, "Bruce believed journalism shouldn't burn down the house, but light the path inside it." Even in leadership, he nurtured young reporters, pushed for accountability, and shielded journalism's highest values. Many who wandered into his office for advice came out with confidence and purpose. He remained deeply connected to Medill, where he was honored as one of its most distinguished alumni, always advocating for the next generation of truth seekers. Through all the changes in journalism, Robert stood as a compass, pointing always toward truth and service. Robert Bruce Dold is remembered with respect, gratitude, and deep affection. His editorials held the powerful to account. His mentorship lifted countless voices, and his legacy echoes in the many reforms, stories, and careers he shaped. Tributes to Robert Bruce Dold. What's trending on the internet? News 1. Every once in a while a story comes along that reminds us how fragile life can be and how important it is to look out for one another. Today we're talking about actress Tara Reid, known to so many for her roles in American Pie and the Sharknado films. Tara, who is in her late 40s, was reportedly taken to a Los Angeles hospital after a 911 call described her as barely standing and not really responding. According to the call, a concerned person reached out for emergency help after seeing Tara in distress at a home in Los Angeles. Paramedics arrived and took her to the hospital for evaluation. While full medical details have not been publicly shared, reports say she was awake when help arrived and that she was transported so professionals could make sure she was safe and cared for. Moments like this can be scary, not only for the person involved, but also for their friends, family, and fans who have watched them on screen for many years. Tara Reid has been a familiar face in American entertainment since the late 1990s, bringing humor and lighthearted fun to some very beloved movies and television projects. As this story unfolds, many people online are choosing compassion over criticism, expressing hope that Tara is receiving the support and care she needs. It is a gentle reminder that behind every famous name is a real person, with real struggles, who deserves kindness and understanding. If you've enjoyed Tara's work over the years, this is a moment to send good thoughts her way, to celebrate the laughter she has brought into living rooms across the country, and to remember how important it is for all of us to check in on the people we care about. No matter what comes next, Tara Reid will be remembered for the joy, fun, and nostalgia her performances have given to audiences. And many are hoping this will be a turning point toward health, healing, and new beginnings for her. News 2. Every so often a story comes along that reminds us just how powerful family can be in the hardest moments of life. Actor Alec Baldwin, now 66 years old, is opening up about how his children helped him through one of the most painful chapters of his life, the tragic shooting on the set of the movie Rust in New Mexico. In a new conversation, Baldwin says that after the accident he struggled deeply with sadness, shock, and the weight of what had happened. He describes waking up in the middle of the night, feeling overwhelmed and lost. But then, he says, he would hear little footsteps, a child's voice, or feel a tiny hand reach for his, and it was his kids who pulled him back toward the light. Baldwin is a father of 8 young children with his wife, Hilaria. Their home in New York is busy, noisy, and full of everyday moments many grandparents and parents will recognize, helping with homework, finding lost toys, wiping away tears, and laughing at silly jokes that only kids could come up with. He says those ordinary family routines became his lifeline. Instead of being left alone with heavy thoughts, Baldwin found himself making school lunches, reading bedtime stories, and sitting on the floor playing games. He explains that his kids didn't ask for a famous actor or a man in the middle of a legal and emotional storm. They just wanted their dad. And that simple, steady need for him, right there at home, helped him keep going. He shares that each of his children, in their own way, brought him small but powerful moments of comfort. A hug that lasted a little longer, a picture they drew just for him, or a burst of laughter that cut through a very hard day. Those little sparks of joy reminded him that there was still goodness, still love, and still purpose in his life. Baldwin also talks about the importance of leaning on his wife, who helped keep the household moving forward. Together they tried to protect their children's innocence while still teaching them kindness, compassion, and the importance of standing by the people you love. Through all of this, he says his family gave him something priceless, a reason to get out of bed, to stay present, and to believe that healing, while slow and imperfect, is possible. He credits his children with saving his life, not through anything grand or dramatic, but through the simple, everyday act of loving their dad. For many older Americans watching this, that message may feel familiar. We know how a grandchild's laugh, a phone call from a son or daughter, or even a kind neighbor's visit can change the color of a very difficult day. Baldwin's story is a reminder that support can come in small, gentle ways that mean more than we realize. As the legal and emotional aftermath of the Rust tragedy continues, Baldwin says he is focused on his family, on being a present father, and on honoring both the life that was lost and the lives he is responsible for guiding. In the end, this is a story about how, even in our darkest chapters, love can show up in sneakers and pajamas, with messy hair and big smiles, asking, "Dad, will you play with me?" Alec Baldwin will be remembered in this moment not just as an actor, but as a father who found strength and hope in the everyday love of his children, and as a reminder to all of us to hold our families and our loved ones just a little bit closer. News 3. You know you're living in a very online world when a teenager has to log on just to tell the internet to calm down about her body. Today we're talking about Romy Mars, the 17-year-old daughter of filmmaker Sofia Coppola and Phoenix lead singer Thomas Mars, who is making headlines for how she's handling some very personal speculation with grace and humor. Recently, Romy noticed a wave of online chatter wondering whether she'd had cosmetic surgery. Instead of lashing out or hiding away, she addressed it directly in a lighthearted TikTok-style video, saying that the rumors were deeply personal and simply not true. She clarified that she has not had a procedure, and that what people were pointing to was just a regular part of growing up. What really stood out wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. Romy kept her tone kind, calm, and even a little playful, gently reminding people that she's still a teenager and that conversations about someone's body can feel invasive and uncomfortable. There was no anger, no name-calling, just a young person drawing a healthy boundary and moving on. Her response sparked a wave of support online from viewers of all ages, including many parents who said they admired how confident and self-aware she seemed. Others applauded her for sending a positive message about body respect, privacy, and the pressures that come with growing up in the spotlight. For older viewers who have watched celebrity culture change over the decades, Romy's moment is a meaningful reminder that the next generation is learning to speak up for themselves in thoughtful, constructive ways. Rather than letting rumors define her, she chose to define herself, with a clear message: people deserve kindness, and young people especially deserve room to simply grow. In the end, Romy Mars will likely be remembered less for the gossip and more for how she rose above it, showing that even in an age of constant commentary, dignity, humor, and self-respect never go out of style. Number 1. She made every note feel like a gift, said a longtime colleague, remembering the impact Margaret Jane Ray had on stage and off. Renowned for the luminous strength of her voice and heartfelt connection to music, Margaret touched the hearts of listeners around the globe. She passed away peacefully in late 2025 at the age of 62, leaving behind a legacy resonating with warmth, grace, and artistic brilliance. Rising to attention in her early 20s, Margaret's breakout moment came with her victory in the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions. From there, her ascent was swift and stunning. Audiences at the Met, La Scala, Berlin State Opera, and Seattle Opera knew her not just as a voice, but as a soul who gave everything to the music. She became beloved for her signature role as Sieglinde in Wagner's Die Walküre. Critics called her performances soaring, profound, and emotionally shattering. Whether as Senta, Elizabeth, or Elsa, her portrayals brought powerful emotion to the world's most challenging roles. It wasn't just Wagner. Margaret breathed vivid life into characters by Verdi, Mozart, Strauss, Berlioz, and modern composers. She made concert halls tremble with the Boston Symphony, the New York Philharmonic, and the Chicago Symphony under masterful batons. But her artistry was matched by her generosity. Known for her uplifting spirit in the rehearsal room, she encouraged countless young singers, both through private mentorship and as an adjudicator for the Metropolitan Opera auditions. She balanced this international acclaim with a deep dedication to family. At home in St. Charles, Illinois, she was a loving wife to William Georg Sames and a proud, devoted mother to their sons, Zachariah and Luke. She never lost touch with her roots, teaching, serving locally, and remaining an active voice in her community. She didn't just sing, one admirer wrote. She transformed silence into something holy. Margaret's final years were spent guiding others, sharing her wisdom selflessly. Though gone too soon, she left us music that echoes still, and a generation of singers strengthened by her light. She is deeply mourned by her family, students, and the global opera family that loved her. Her courage, authenticity, and luminous artistry continue to inspire. Tributes to Margaret Jane Ray. The people who make music that lasts are the ones who mean every note. Those words, shared by one of Justin Barron's earliest producers,